All right, my friends, so we haven't done one of these in a little bit of time, so I figured we would do a little what's kind of happening in the world of Apple. You know, what are some of the things that you and I can possibly expect to see in 2021? Now, this, of course, is coming out at the end of January of 2021, so there's a big year ahead of us. But already the rumors are starting, so kind of interested to see what possibly could be coming out in the near future. So we've got a website up here. We've got a couple articles that I thought were interesting that we could possibly go through, and we're going to start off with this one. And this one actually is something that's not even a rumor, but as you see here, Apple announces a limited edition Apple Watch Series 6 for Black History Month. That is something that Apple is known for doing, is making these limited editions that come out. We see a lot of that in the product red stuff that comes out. So what is this special edition? What is the special edition? So right now you'll see here the Black History Month Apple Watch Series 6 appears to be a modified version of the space gray aluminum case model. Etched into the back of the limited edition watch is Black Unity, so that's actually kind of cool. Accompanying Black Unity sport band featuring Truth, Power, Solidarity, laser engraved on the enclosure. The Apple Watch Series 6 Black Unity launches on February 1st and will only be available for purchase until the end of the month. So this is actually a really limited edition, February only, but very, very cool. Not a big change, but they've added some cool etchings and some cool sayings to it so that you can show your support as well as Apple. So that's kind of cool, actually. The other thing that just came out, I want to say, I think it was yesterday, actually, was for those of us that have iPads or iPhones or Apple TVs, etc., iOS 14.4 came out. Now, this was really a bug fix and some security fixes, I guess. You can see here, Apple seeded the release candidate that came out. And this article actually came out a little while ago, so this was saying that the release candidate came out, but as of yesterday, the actual full version came out. So things that it includes, smaller QR codes for the camera, which is great. It'll actually be able to recognize that. I've actually found that to be a little bit of an issue, especially in some of the QR codes that we have with some of the really, really small manuals that we get. The QR codes just hard for it to read sometimes. Hopefully that's fixed now. Option to classify Bluetooth device type in settings for correct identification of headphones for audio notifications. Notifications for when the camera on your phone is unable to be verified as a new genuine Apple camera. Not really sure what that is. So again, bug fix kind of update. And this release also fixes the following issue: image artifacts in HDR photos with the iPhone 12 Pro. Fitness widget may not display updated activity data, and that's actually one that both my wife and I experience on occasion, so that's kind of cool. Typing may be delayed and word suggestions may not appear in the keyboard. Keyboard may not come up in the correct languages in messages. Audio stories from the News app in CarPlay may not resume after being paused, and enabling switch control in accessibility may prevent phone calls from being answered from the lock screen. Some good fixes. Fixes are always good. So 14.4 out as of now, so if you have an iPhone, iPad, Apple TV, just be aware that it's sitting there waiting for you. So go get it. I did my update yesterday, start to finish, depending on your internet, 15-20 minutes, somewhere in that range. Continuing on in regards to iOS. So we're seeing here iOS 15. So don't that's not coming anytime soon. Of course, this is probably going to be something that we'll hear more about at WWDC this coming summer, as well as probably some kind of launch this fall. But iOS 15 likely won't support the iPhone 6s or the original iPhone SE and 3 older iPads. So just be aware, iOS 14 for a lot of you, especially the 6s. 6s was a very, very popular phone, and a lot of people have held on to that phone. So iOS 14 could be the end. So, but that's still, iOS 14, for being such an old device, you got to remember 6s, 7, 8, 10, 10s, 11, 12. That's like 6 generations of phones back, and it's still getting updates. That's actually really good for those that are on Android, or for those that are new to Android, like myself, that's not something that I would ever expect is to get like 6 generations of operating system updates for a phone of that age. So still pretty good. So the rumor is, like I said, and it's not official, it could come out on these phones, 6S, you know, the original SE, but we'll see. Following that, oh yes, following that, the iPhone 13. So for those of us that are looking at, maybe we didn't buy a phone this year. I bought a 12 Pro. My wife still has an 11, but the 13. 13, they are rumoring that could be just like an S upgrade. So really just a speed and performance update to the 12 Pro. We won't really see much possibly of any kind of cosmetic update. So maybe we'll see a smaller notch, maybe. But the one thing that they are kind of talking about is that we could see, and this is something here, we could be seeing an in-screen fingerprint reader. Now my hope is that if we do get the fingerprint reader that we still keep the Face ID, because I do like the Face ID. And if they don't do an in-screen fingerprint, I wouldn't mind seeing them move the fingerprint up to the sleep wake or the power button, because they've done it with the iPad Air 4. So being able to put Touch ID or your fingerprint scanner up there, I think would be awesome. And they're also rumored to be testing no ports. So remember the uproar that came with the no headphone jack? Well, imagine if you will, no ports at all. So no lightning connector. We've all been wanting them to move to a USB-C for power and for syncing, but they may just be like, we're not going to just have anything. So if you want to charge this, wireless charging. If you want to move stuff, do it wirelessly. I don't know. I get that that's probably the future, but I don't think the future for that is here yet. What are your thoughts on that? If you were to get a phone that had no ports, it's just sealed, right? Just nothing, no cable access. Yeah, I don't know, but that's some of the rumors that we're seeing. Again, you just have to remember, these are rumors. This could all be thrown out the window. But that one would be concerning. I still like to see it get USB-C, because no ports, cool, but having USB-C allows us to add stuff to it. It allows us to put like USB-C hubs to it. It allows us to connect external hard drives. It allows us to connect SD cards. It allows us to connect all kinds of stuff. If you take that port away, you have no ability to have any kind of expansion on an iPhone. And that, to me, would be just a nail in the coffin. Like that's a horrible thing. So USB-C would be fantastic. No ports, I don't know about that. I think that's wouldn't be a great idea. So I guess we'll see. Now, for a lot of us, we like the flagship phones. So again, the iPhone 12, iPhone 12 Pro. But size-wise, a lot of people really liked the SE. And the SE2, when it came out, even though it came out right when, you know, the pandemic kind of hit, and it was kind of an online release, it looks like possibly we could see an iPhone SE version 3. Now that's fairly fast for an upgrade to the SE2. The SE3 could release, they say, as early as April. So, you know, we're not seeing a lot of devices scheduled for any kind of spring release. So that's a big window of not a lot of new products from Apple. So being able to release something, and you know, that would be a year later, because it was April of 2020, I believe, that the iPhone SE2 came out. So looking at a possible release of the iPhone SE3, April 2021, again, we'll see. But putting that up against the iPhone 12 mini, it'd be very, very interesting to see what they do in regards to it, because, you know, they'd be very close in size, and price-wise, how do you separate the iPhone 12 mini and an iPhone SE? You know, there have to be some big differences and also a big price gap. So be interesting. April's not that far away. On to the other hardware, of course, MacBooks. So the MacBook M1 came out to huge praise, really. I bought one. and actually got rid of my 16-inch MacBook to buy the 13-inch MacBook Pro. But one of the biggest gripes, I guess, that a lot of people had was that it didn't have any kind of physical change. It was basically the same MacBook Pro in appearance that's been out there for the last, forever, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. I'm not even sure how long it was. So the new ones could be the rumored 14 and 16 inch. And again, these would be running the new M1. So probably either an M1X or an M2 or an M2X, who really knows what's coming out, but more power, more cores, higher GPU, etc., etc. But the big thing that are rumored with these new MacBooks is going to be the fact that redesign. So that's the big one that a lot of us are looking at. That screen itself is probably going to end up looking a lot like an iPad, even an iPad Air or an iPad Pro. Just have that really, really squared off kind of edge-to-edge look would be what we're seeing, as well as possibly even keyboard coming out edge-to-edge. Now, the other thing that we're also seeing is them bringing back MagSafe. Again, we haven't heard any thoughts really on how this would be happening, but again, that was a big outcry when we lost MagSafe, because it was a fantastic feature for just those of us that were traveling around with our laptops, being able to not kick it off the table because we tripped up over a cable. Huge feature. So it could be something that is like the previous MagSafe that we saw, or I wouldn't even mind seeing, because we see that now with a lot of USB-C cables, is a USB-C cable that has almost like a detachable head, so that if it needed to, or if it had to, the head could break apart and separate from the rest of the cable, so the cable becomes the MagSafe. Either way, bringing MagSafe back, however they implement it, I think is going to be a huge asset. Something that I would definitely be in favor of. Now, the other one that's kind of getting mixed reactions, I guess, is the possible removal of the touch bar. Now, the touch bar, when it first came out, I thought was kind of gimmicky, but for someone that has had a MacBook Pro with the touch bar for years now, there are certain features on there that I really like. It's not a feature that I use a lot, but there's just certain ones that it's just nice to have really quick access. It's a bar that's customizable. Is it something that a lot of people use? Probably not. Was it something that I think Apple could have probably spent more time and really tried to develop, especially with third party? Without question, I do. But the rumor now is that they could be removing that bar completely and going back to the function keys. I think if they remove that, there's certain things I'm going to miss in regards to it, without question. So it'd be interesting to see. And the last thing that is probably one of the biggest things, and for those of you that have watched this channel a lot, I'm a Mac user, without question. I have my iMac, I have the new M1, etc., etc. But I also just recently bought, you guys can see it here, a Windows computer. Oh yes, a Windows computer. And I love the fact that I have access to all these ports. It has 2 USB ports. It has an HDMI port. It has an SD card reader. It has, I can't remember, 2, maybe 3 USB 3.0 ports. So the new MacBooks, rumor is they aren't going to just have USB-C ports. We're going to see some additional ports be added back to the MacBook. Now, will that make the MacBook thicker? I don't know. 14 and 16s may actually change how thin or thick they are to start to accommodate that. And I think that would actually be a really, really smart idea, because USB-C, it's great. But the fact that we always have to carry dongles around with us, as someone who's a creator and creates stuff all the time, I need an external hard drive. I need an SD card reader. I need possibly a backup drive. Right there, 3 ports. So I either have to have a dongle, I need one for sure, or I can't even power. So I have power and 1 USB port, right? So it's definitely something that Apple hopefully is rethinking, and either decides to go USB-C maybe on one side, and then on the other side we get some extra ports, SD card reader at bare minimum. Give me an SD card reader and 1 USB-A, just 1 USB-A possibly, and an HDMI. Super happy. right? So will be interesting. That's another rumor that we're seeing with the actual MacBook. So if that's the case, especially on the 14 and 16, the 14 inch would be the one of interest, I think, for me, depending on performance and price. Keep going. Future Macs. And again, Future Macs, this one really, again, is kind of MacBook Pro, I think, related. And it is possible that we could see this in future displays from Apple, possibly. But future Macs may gain Face ID. Again, fantastic. I love even something as simple as my Apple Watch is able to unlock my computer so that as soon as I get close, it automatically unlocks for me. But if this camera could, on the iMac especially, just detect that it's me and unlock, or have multiple users so it knows that it's me sitting in front of it versus my daughter versus my wife, and actually unlocks and launches their actual user or profile, game changer, right? Game changer. You just sit and it launches all your stuff. Oh yes, I'd be down for that. And then last is cellular connectivity. Don't necessarily see that coming out like for an iMac. Maybe it's an option, especially if you possibly live in a remote area, where I know a lot of people that live very rural, so they don't have high-speed internet coming into their house, but they do have access to 3G or 4G or possibly 5G. So being able to have that built into their iMac without having to get some kind of external stick as an option, I get it, but definitely useful inside a MacBook or MacBook Pro, MacBook Air, whatever. That I could see. Mac Pros, so the beast. Rumor is that with the Mac Pro itself, we are going to see it possibly 2 versions. So we're going to see the standard version, which is that nice big tall one, which is the cheese grater design. And that would continue to be running off the Intel based. So that would be something that gets updated hopefully fairly soon. Fantastic machine, but with the M1 and even the iMacs, we're seeing the performance of the iMacs coming really close to the Mac Pros. So we're going to see a probably new version of that running the newer version of the Intel machines with probably a new graphics card, etc., etc. And this is the one that I could find actually very interesting, something that looks a lot more size-wise to the old Power Mac G4 Cube. So you almost take the Mac Pro and kind of cut it in half. Because it doesn't need the amount of cooling and everything's kind of system on a chip, so everything's integrated, it doesn't need as much of a space inside. That could be perfect for one of their new, whatever it is, high-end Apple Silicon chips. So something that just is performance crazy. That I'd really love to see. And as long as it's almost like taking 2 Mac Minis and putting them together, you know, giving us that kind of performance in almost like a Mac Pro Mini. Mac Pro Mini, right? Copyright, trademark, whatever, it's happening. That's right, Mac Pro Mini. That I'd be interested, because even in a setup like this, Mac Mini would go really nice here, but I've got enough room over here somewhere to put something that's, you know, yay high. Yeah, that would fit. Mac Pro, no, and they look nice. I give it that. But give me a small version of that. Even give me something that looks like the old G4 Cube. Give me that kind of retro-y look. Yeah, I'd be down with that for sure. For sure. Last but not least, Apple Watch. Oh yes, Apple Watch Series 7. Series 6 came out and it had cool colors and all that. But at least for me, I was just like, I don't really see much change or anything that would warrant me really going from my Series 4 up to a 6. Not really anything there. But the rumor is that the Series 7 could support blood glucose monitoring. So for anybody that's got high or low blood sugar, anybody that's diabetic, this could be really, really huge. This could be one of the biggest updates that the Apple Watch probably has ever seen. You know, the heart rate monitor kind of took the world by storm when it first came into the wearables. And I think, you know, ever since then, there's been a lot of convenience update, but nothing really medical that has been, you know, something that's truly, truly life-changing for those that require it. So something that like this with a blood glucose monitoring, even for those that aren't diabetic, to be able to monitor what your blood sugar levels are like, just to remain healthy, so that you don't suffer from low blood sugar or high blood sugar. That could be a huge one. So and it's also really important for those that, you know, have to do their monitoring for blood sugar levels. You know, sticking your finger all the time, that can't be pleasant. And I'm not sure if that's how it's done to this day, but I know some people that have diabetes and they're diabetic, and it's not fun for them. This, if they can just wear a watch, and I don't know what kind of magic it would need, but that in itself, not having to go through all that stuff, life-changing, right? That would be a watch update that would make me want to upgrade my watch for sure. So yeah, Apple Watch Series 7 coming out sometime in the future, maybe. Well, it's coming out, we just don't know what it's going to have. You know, it is what it is. All right, guys, that's kind of it for January. That's kind of all the stuff that I've read and heard. 2021 could be very interesting in what gets released from Apple, but who knows, right? This one, oh, actually, there's one more. Oh, one more that I totally forgot about. The big one is, and I was just thinking about this, Apple TV. Yeah, the Apple TV. They are rumoring, again, everything here's a rumor, is that this fall we could see the next version of the Apple TV. What is it going to give us? Well, the big one that we've heard possibly is, again, it's all going to be spec bumps. So we're going to get a faster processor, which is going to be the big one. And we'll probably come in at 64 gigs and 128 gigs of storage, because as we're seeing now, I have the current Apple TV, and I never thought I would, but I'm running out of space. It actually runs out of space because of some games that I put on there and some apps, etc., etc. This one, you know, I think is going to really push gaming, because Apple really has, with their Apple Arcade, a window into game playing, especially on the TV. I have 2 game controllers for it. Do I use it? Not really, because the games, really, they're mobile based. They're okay. They're very niche, right? They're very artsy, cool. But what I'd like to see on the Apple TV is actually some AAA titles. Something that says this thing can perform. Now, if you can put an M1 inside an Apple TV, oh yeah, now we could be playing some games, you know. Now we could have access to actual AAA level games, and if they can put that in there, as well as give us a better remote, because that remote, I don't know who thought that was a good idea, because it's not. On paper it's cool, functionally wise, no, not at all. Not good at all. So that's probably one of the ones that I will guarantee will pick up when it's released, is a new Apple TV, without question. That'll be on the list for sure. And something else. Apple Watch. An Apple Watch Series 7, if it has the blood glucose. Yeah. Alright, guys, I'm gonna leave it there. This video got way long. Alright, my friends. Later. Oh, like, comment, share, subscribe. Hit the bell. And we'll see you next video. Later.